All right, hello folks. So in this lecture, I want to talk a little bit more about JavaFX and sort of at the beginning of it, we'll talk a bit more about some of the shapes that we can make, sort of where we left off last time. And then I want to talk a bit about some of the tools that can help us in Eclipse and sort of another external tool that can help us create GUIs. So I'm going to show you how to install them and then a little bit about how to use them. So to start with some of these shapes, we left off, I think, with like rectangle or circle or something. So you can, of course, draw ellipses as well. So you center X, center Y, and a couple of radii for you to set up drawing of an ellipse. And of course, all of these shapes have similar properties like set the fill, set the stroke width, all that kind of stuff. You can draw arcs, so sort of partial ellipse or partial circle. You put in things like the start angle and the radii and the X and Y and the center X and Y and information like that to draw an arc. So here's a few examples that just sort of show what these various things mean here, like the length, the start angle, the end angle, the center, where 0 degrees is considered to be starting at. So you can use negative values or positive values for the angles, and then a little example here showing a few things related to whether the arc is open, whether it's a chord, whether it's filled in or not. You can also draw polylines and polygons. So polygons are filled, polylines are just sort of lines that do not make a filled shape or a closed shape. You can make these as well. You basically just give a whole bunch of points to when you create one of these polygons or polylines, and then it will draw that for you. So you can draw essentially whatever shapes you want to out of this. All right, so I think what a very useful tool for using JavaFX with Eclipse is called FX Clips. And I give a link here. You don't have to go to the link. It's just the website that contains all the information about it. Unfortunately, it hasn't been updated in a while, so I imagine at some point it's probably going to fall off, where you won't be able to use it in like a current version of Eclipse. But it should still work with what we have, and it provides actually a lot of sort of useful tools for us. So I'm going to show you some of those, but first I want to show you how to get it installed. So if you go to the website, this is basically what you're going to see. This is a JavaFX tooling and runtime for Eclipse. So what we're going to do is in Eclipse, we're going to go to help and then install new software. So I'm going to walk you through this. I already have it installed, but I'm going to sort of show you the process and what you need to do to include it. So I have Eclipse open. I don't have any projects open or anything. So I'm going to go Window. Actually, no, I'm going to go Help, Install New Software. And the dialog here contains a couple of fields that we'll mess with. The first one, this drop down here, deals with websites that you download this sort of extra plugin, extra software for Eclipse for. Now, FX Clips used to be sort of part of some of the default websites, but it's not on there anymore. So what we have to do is we have to say add. So we're going to click add, and then the location is where we're going to put a URL. That specific URL is the one on the page here. So it's this one right here. So you're going to want to, you don't have to click on this. This will take you to a place where you can download it. You want to highlight it. So here we can either, back one here, you can either go there and then just take the URL and copy it. Or you can just select it and copy it straight out of the PDF. So once you do that, you're going to add that location in here like this, and it should be the download.eclipse.org FX Clips updates released and 3.5 and it's a site. That's what it is. Now I've already added this into my version, but as soon as you click add, then you'll be able to see stuff here. So I'm going to go down. It's in my drop down now because I've already added it. It says FX Clips IDE 1. And what you're going to do is you're going to click on You're going to click on this one, this FX Clips install. You're going to click on FX Clips IDE, this one right here. I already have it installed, so I don't have to worry about it. But you just go through this. You'll click next a few times. There'll be like an accept a license agreement, and then it will install. Once you click finish, so once you're able to click finish after you click next through it, it'll look like the IDE is not doing anything. But if you look down in the lower right corner, you'll see a little green bar and it'll be progressing. So that's the actual install happening. Once the install finishes, then you'll have to restart Eclipse. And you have to restart because it adds a few nice features for us. So make sure you go do that. I have a few screenshots here as well that just sort of show like this is the one you pick, and then it'll sort of list all these things here. You'll just sort of next through, accept the license agreement, and then when it's done, it'll pop up with a window saying you need to restart Eclipse for the changes to take effect. Now, once that you have this installed, then we have a really cool system for creating a new JavaFX project. So I'm gonna right click in my package explorer and say new, but instead of Java project, I'm gonna say project. And we have a bunch of folders, and one of them now will be JavaFX. If we had not installed FX Clips, this JavaFX folder is not here. So this is why you have to restart, because it adds a whole bunch of stuff to it. So if I click on the folder here, I can say JavaFX project. So I'm going to create a new JavaFX project. I'm going to click next, and I'm going to show you the Java 11 version of this because we have to do those extra steps from the I described in the last lecture. If you're using Java 8, then you actually won't have to do a whole lot. This takes care of pretty much everything, and you'll be ready to go as soon as you create the project. But for Java 11, we got to do a couple steps. So I'm going to leave that at Java 11, and I'm going to say, I'll just call this, I have a couple projects already, so I'm just going to call this JavaFX, and maybe like test or something. So I'll create that, and it shows up in the package explorer, and the first thing you'll notice is that it has an error. It has a bunch of errors. And the errors are because JavaFX library is not included in Java 11. So we need to right-click on the project, go down to Properties, and add the library into our class path. So I'm going to click on the class path, and I'm going to say Add Library, User Library, and then that JavaFX 11.1 that I put in. Then I'll do Apply and Close, and now everything's there. So this code automatically got created by FX Clips. It sets it up for you so that you're ready to go with essentially a blank window. Now, it does include a few other things. You'll notice here that there's this application CSS, so it gives you sort of a CSS file here, and you can use these to sort of organize certain things, or it has a similar purpose to using a CSS file in HTML. You can sort of have certain themes and stuff that you're using throughout your document. We're not going to need that. So I'm going to take the line here that uses it, which is this get style sheet from the scene, and I'm just going to delete it. Typically, we're not going to use a style sheet in our programs. We can attempt to run, and it doesn't run. It still gets that. We still get that error that you saw last time. The JavaFX runtime components are missing. So remember what we did last time. We had to come down to run configurations after right-clicking on our project. And let's see, I'm going to make sure I'm in the correct project and the correct class. So the class is main, which is what I see here, and the JavaFX test, and go to arguments. And then I need to put in that argument that you saw last time, the one that has the path to where the JavaFX is located. So on the website here, I've kept this one open, this JavaFX sort of getting started thing. And if I scroll down, here's the Windows version of that VM argument. So I'm going to paste that in, and then I'm going to replace the path here with the path to the one that where mine is located. So C, program files, Java, and then mine was the JavaFX SDK 11.0.2. So once I get that in there, I click run, and there's my window. So it sets everything up for you, so you're basically ready to go. You don't have to worry about extends application. You don't have to worry about putting launch in main. It just makes it a little bit easier for you to get started real quick with a JavaFX application. If you're using Java, the SDK 8, then you will be ready to go as soon as you create a new FX Clips project. It should work right off the bat. You might have to go in and do the sort of add the add the correct jar and like move it to the top of the order and export. But most of the time when I've done it, you haven't had to worry about that. So I have that in the slides as well, where you do file, new project, you create a JavaFX project. But like I just showed you, if you're using Java 11, you still have to go through that process from last time. So that open the go to the docs that I just showed you, look under JavaFX and Eclipse, and follow the steps under non-modular project. So make sure that you do that even if you create an FX Eclipse project. Unfortunately, it doesn't sort of get everything working right away, so you do have to do the extra steps. Okay, so that's the first sort of useful tool that we have for making our GUIs. But there's another one, and it's quite a good one. So it's called Scene Builder, and it's a visual layout tool for your JavaFX applications. It's basically a WYSIWYG editor. WYSIWYG being what you see is what you get. So, if you compare something like using Word is a WYSIWYG. Whatever you see on the page or whatever you see that you're typing, that's what you get, compared to something like LaTeX, for example, which is essentially writing code to do your document formatting. So it's what you see is what you get. So you can quickly design a GUI with sort of drag and drop stuff. It uses an XML file to store sort of what's going on, and then you combine that into your Java project. You sort of import it into your Java project, and then you see the actual GUI that you built using Scene Builder. So this is a separate piece of software that you download. So the link to Scene Builder is here. There's two different versions. One of them is specifically for Java 8, and the other one is for essentially Java 11 plus. So depending on which version of Java you plan to use, make sure you download the correct one. My recommendation is to get the Windows installer. So for the Java 11 one, just grab the installer here, and then for the Java 8 one, if you're doing that one, download the 64-bit installer. Once that's downloaded, so I can go ahead and do that. I already have this installed. It'll take you here, and then it'll start the download here in a moment. And then you open this up. So you go through the install process. You'll click next a few times, and it will install it for you. Mine is located. Let's see if I have it here. After the install happens, mine is located in C, Program Files, Scene Builder. So the executable is right here. And it's important to know where this is because we're going to integrate this in with Eclipse. So FX Eclipse allows us to integrate this in. So it's another reason why we used FX Eclipse. So once it's installed, once you get to the point where you have this executable or where you know where it is, then what we can do is in Eclipse, we can go to Window Preferences, and in the list of stuff here, you'll see JavaFX as one of them. We're not going to do the drop down. We're just going to click on JavaFX, and the first option here is Scene Builder Executable. And notice where mine is pointing. C, Program Files, Scene Builder exe. So that's what you want to go find. You can click Browse, go find where your scenebuilder.exe is located, and then click Open on that, and then Apply. So now, Eclipse knows where my Scene Builder is located. So we've sort of integrated it in. We've sort of made it easy for Eclipse to open Scene Builder for us when we want to use it. So you're going to see where that's useful in just a second. And I have on the slides, I've got information about that here as well. And preferences, JavaFX, set the path to Scene Builder. And then in that project that I just created, so the one that I have open right here, I'm going to right click. I'm going to say New, and then I'm going to go down to Other. And in the JavaFX folder for Other, I'm going to create a new FXML document. So I'm going to say Next. And I'm going to give it a name. Maybe I'll just call this like root or something. It doesn't really matter what you call it, but I'm going to give it some name. And I'm going to create it. It opens it for you. And we're not going to edit this directly. This is something that Scene Builder will edit for us. But we do have to have it. Now, you should be able to right-click on this FXML file, and you should be able to select Open with Scene Builder. So FX Clip is giving us that capability. We can open this FXML file with Scene Builder. So I'm going to click on that. and it should open here. There we go. So now we are in Scene Builder. So what Scene Builder looks like. It may ask you about like registering your email or something for updates or whatever. You don't have to do that. You can just cancel out of it. All we have here is an anchor pane. That's sort of all that's here. So what we can do with this is we can drag and drop elements into our sort of anchor pane, the sort of main scene thing that we're going to put onto a window. So there's a whole bunch of stuff here. There's controls, there's buttons and stuff. Usually you start with a container. So I'm going to take a border pane. And you could drag it directly on, or you can put it over here on the side and right underneath the anchor pane. And there's my border pane. Now the border pane has a top, left, center, right, and bottom. So maybe I want a button. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to find a button right there, and I can sort of put it in one of these locations. So maybe I want a button at the bottom. And then let's find some text. There's a text area. That's probably what we'll go for. Maybe like a label or something. So you can sort of mess around with some of these. The ones that are under the heading Gluon, they may not be available. Gluon is a company and they like sell stuff. So likely some of these you won't be able to use in sort of the default version. But most of them, like shapes and stuff, and some of the miscellaneous ones, and all of the containers and the control stuff, you should be able to use those. Let's just grab a label. And I'm going to put the label up here in the top. So now I can sort of mess around with this stuff. So on the right-hand side, the text that's in the label here is right here. So I can say something like yay. You see yay shows up there. Maybe I want to make this a little bit bigger. So we'll go like something like this, something like in the 40s or 50s or something. For the button, I can select it and I can say click me, and maybe make this bigger as well. So this is now my window, and I can change the size of the window here. I can expand this out. There we go. Now I got sort of a bigger window to mess with. Okay, so you can sort of see how that works. You can drag a bunch of stuff in. You can play with this in sort of any way that you want to. It's WYSIWYG, so as soon as you make these changes and then you save them, make sure to save the changes. Make sure to save. We can go back to Eclipse, and you can leave this open. That's perfectly fine. And we can go back to Eclipse, and if you click in the folder, root the FXML folder you opened, take a look at what it wrote. It wrote a bunch of stuff. It said, all right, so here is here's that text for the button. So made a button. The text is click me. It's in the border pane in the center. Yay is in the border. The yay is a label in the border pane, and the alignment for the border pane is centered. But for the border pane in the bottom, we have the button, font size 25. And then in the top, we have that yay, font size 49. So it's just writing XML that sort of details where what we did when we dragged and dropped things in and changed some of the parameters. So that's all it's doing. So now let's actually get this so that this works with our code. So in my actual Java code here, I'm going to get rid of, I don't need the border pane. I'm going to keep the scene here, but we are going to load a different scene into this. So I'm going to create a parent called root. Remember from the lecture last time, I said that a parent is something that needs to be put into a scene. So this parent that I'm calling root is going to be put into the scene, just like this. And then we have to sort of have a long line of sort of code and stuff that's going on to load this FXML file properly. It's just sort of take it as is. It's sort of technically sort of getting the resource. It's a way to open the file as a resource in JavaFX. So don't worry too much about exactly what it's doing. It'll sort of make sense, but it may not sort of fully make sense just based on looking at what the code, sort of what code it is. So we're going to use the FXML loader. We're going to say fxml.load. And we're going to put in get class dot get class loader dot get resource, and then we put in the string whatever we've called our fxml file. So root.fxml, just like that. So this will get us what we want. Now we have to include parent. So we have to include, and fxml loader is also something you do have to include if it doesn't automatically do it. So we do have parent, we have fxml loader, everything looks like it's working okay. Root, after it loads up that fxml file and then converts all of that to sort of the appropriate Java code, then it gets included in the scene. We don't need to put a size with it because that's already in our fxml file. So typically when you use the fxml loader from something you've written in Scene Builder, you can just delete the size stuff off of it. And then you can do the rest of it here is fine. We set the scene and we show the stage. So what we should see now when I run this, hopefully, here we go, is this. Our yay and our click me. Now I did get some red text down here, as you see. It says it loads an fxml document with a JavaFX API of 15, but with a JavaFX runtime of 11. Remember, I downloaded 11.0.2. Turns out the API that I have sort of ready to go in here is 15.0.1. This is not a problem. It's just saying my API is a greater version than my runtime version. So that could cause problems, but for the most part, for the stuff that we're doing, it shouldn't cause any issues at all. You may not see something like this. This is probably just related to various versions of JavaFX that I've installed in the past. So here is my window. Here's the yay, here's the click me. Obviously, there is no interaction because we haven't talked about how to get interaction in, but anything that you can make via code that you saw last time, you will be able to make in Scene Builder. So if you prefer to use a WYSIWYG editor for this sort of thing, then you can certainly do that. The main difference will be in the interaction. I'll show you both ways. I'll show you obviously interaction with sort of the code, the pure code way that we did last time, and I will show you how to get interaction with Scene Builder. It's a little bit more clunky with Scene Builder. So for example, if I click on the button, I have to do certain things with the code in the button. I have to start sort of editing stuff in here and then trying to get stuff working with the controller. So it's a little bit more clunky, but I will show you. I will show you how to do it because it is and can be quite useful. Okay, so that's the idea of these sort of extra tools. And I mentioned that I sort of intended for this lecture to be a little bit shorter because one of the things I want you to do is install this stuff. So, you can pause the video and install the stuff and then sort of keep going and just see if you can get the fxml loader working. See if you can drag and drop some elements in and see if you can get something that sort of looks interesting. I think this is very useful, particularly the scene builder, in that you may not know exactly what the flow pane is supposed to do or what the H box is supposed to do. And so being able to just play with them visually, I think is really, really important, so that you can get a real handle on what these things are, so that if you do end up doing a pure code way, then you sort of know what they do and know what some of their capabilities are. Or if you just keep using Scene Builder, then you know sort of when you might want to use them and when you might not want to. So that is just about it for today. I have a couple of screenshots here that sort of show what some of that fxml looks like, and then that code for the fxml loader. So you've basically seen the fundamentals here of JavaFX and creating a GUI. So my recommendation again is start playing around. This will be necessary for your final project. Make sure to install these tools. If you don't like the look of Scene Builder, you don't have to use it. There's not a specific reason that you have to use it, but it is available for you. So there is more to come. Specifically, how to respond to events. When a user clicks a button, how do you respond to it? When they press a key, how do you respond to it? But we have a few extra things to talk about first. So we have some more sort of Java stuff to talk about, and then we'll jump into how to get some of this user interaction stuff going on. So the sort of most of the rest of the semester will be sort of either flipping between some JavaFX and some regular Java, or doing some side stuff. And you can always check the schedule to sort of see what the schedule in the syllabus to sort of see what's sort of coming up next. But hopefully some of this has sort of piqued your interest a little bit, and then we will jump back over to some Java, learn a little bit more syntax, a little bit more sort of Java capabilities, and then use those capabilities to bring some interaction into your GUI. So that is basically all that I have. So hopefully this sort of shorter lecture version was a bit nice, and we will start talking about interfaces next time.